Welcome back. Still to come, our I'm a Celebrity special with Elaine Lorden.
First, though, it's time to celebrate 40 years of The Sound of Music.
Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens. A doe, a deer, a female deer, hooray, a drop of golden sun. Me, a name I call myself, a long, long way to run. So long, farewell, I'll be there saying good night.
I hate to go and leave this pretty sight.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
And Dame Julie Andrews joins us now. Just explain that we did do a little bit of an opening spoof of you coming up the mountain there for that first shot.
Can I see it?
I don't know. Is it possible?
Is it there?
Well,
we were there's a bit of fighting as to who got to wear the habit, you see. So, well, here you go. You'll see.
All right.
With the sound of music.
you see, suddenly that's not a good idea, is it?
I loved it. Oh, I loved
But
it.
of course, now that's what everybody's doing. They're singing along.
Yes. Now it's kind of kicked the movie up into a whole new genre now that the sing-alongs are around.
Because it only started about 6 years ago, didn't it, the sing-alongs? And that
Something like that.
16,000 people went into the Hollywood Bowl, I think, last
Yes,
year.
it's huge
Sing-along.
every year. It really is.
It's fabulous. And so, by popular demand, out now is, for £14.99, the sing-along version.
Yep, and then there's the huge DVD.
Which is here.
Which has got all the bells and whistles and...
A documentary on
a
there.
documentary on the making of it, and I narrate it, and lots of outtakes that I've never even seen, and rehearsal footage, and still photos, and interview with Chris Plummer and the kids, who are now all grown up, of course.
Yes. And you remember every second, I guess, of that. Because
Well, I wouldn't say every second after 40 years, but it's like a picture in my head. It's just so many happy memories, really.
You didn't audition for the role, did you?
No, I think I was extremely lucky. No, Walt Disney, I'd been making Mary Poppins, and Walt Disney very kindly allowed Robert Wise, our director on Sound of Music, to see some footage of Poppins so that they could see if I was photogenic or whatever. And Disney very seldom allowed that, but he made an exception, and it was very kind of him.
did you know it was going to end up at this iconic film?
No, how could anybody?
Yeah.
How could anybody? I mean, you can't predict that. You hope you never make a flop, I mean, and one does. But no, I think the real huge success of it, you couldn't have predicted.
Is it true that you and Christopher Plummer felt that it actually might be a little bit too saccharine with all the
Yes.
Alps and the children?
I
and
think, you know, if you are not careful, when you enlarge it that much, and you have the Alps, and you have the religious aspect, and you have the story, and the beautiful music and everything, I think Chris and I both, and Robert Wise actually, we all said, let's try to make it just a little bit more astringent if we possibly could.
Because it was a fantastically successful musical in the, I have to can't remember the date now, sort of
65.
65,
Yeah,
yes.
is when it
and
came
Mary
out.
Martin was
Oh, well,
brilliant
before
on
that,
Broadway.
no, 65 is when the movie came out.
Sorry, no, before
but
that.
before
61,
that it was on Broadway.
59, 60, yeah.
Yeah.
And Mary Martin was brilliant. Had you been able to see
Yes,
it
I saw
then?
her in it, and she was lovely.
Not
and
knowing it would come to you.
I had no idea when I saw her that I'd be the one to be asked, the lucky one to be asked to do it.
There were an element of nerves with you as well, once you got the part, knowing that Chris Plummer was also going to be starring alongside you. You were a bit nervous about working with him, weren't you?
Well, we had met. He was on Broadway, I was on Broadway, and we had sort of met in passing. But yeah, he for me, it was a little nerve-wracking because, you know, he's this great, great actor and had mostly done a lot of legit stuff. And but I must say we've stayed friends. We've worked together since The Sound of Music, and we are very close friends now.
What's wonderful, I think, about the advent of the DVD is that you do get, as you said, the opportunity to get all the added extras, the things you never get to see.
No, I mean, there's
never
stuff
get
in
to
there that
hear.
I never knew was happening and I never saw.
One thing you did know that was happening, and one thing that you did see, because it must have been extremely apparent, was the helicopter.
Oh,
of
yeah.
course, this was the first shot in the movie was one of the last things that you did.
Yes, it was. Well, that huge shot walking across the field, certainly the long part of it, was shot from a helicopter. A very brave cameraman, as you can see right there, was hanging out of the side of the helicopter. And he came toward me from one end of the movie, and of the field, sorry, and I came toward him from the other end of the field. And when we met, I began to make my turn, and then that was all that was needed for that particular take. And then he would go around me and go back to the beginning, and I would go back to the other end, because we had to do it many times. But every time he went around me, the downdraft from that helicopter, it was a jet engine, and it just leveled me into the grass. And it's fine for a couple of takes, but I mean, after that, you say, could you just make a wider circle? And I'm trying to signal to him, and all I got was, great, I got the shot.
Because you were very young at the time, in your early
Right,
20s?
No, I was in my late 20s. I think it was about, I don't know, 29, 8 or 9, something like that. No, I was 29.
Were you really?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
But
'cause
you
you'd
never imagined that you would still be talking about it, still be launching
No,
new
that's
products
true.
on the back
That's
of
true.
it.
And every 10 years we get together with the kids, or
Yes.
they're not kids anymore. They're all grown up. They've all got their own children now.
The story of the real Maria is fascinating, isn't it?
Yes.
She, born in 1905 in a train going somewhere
I didn't
or
know
other.
that.
Yes.
Fern, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the story is a true one. Obviously, it was embellished on Broadway, which is what we were shooting. We were shooting the Broadway show. But it was somewhat embellished. But the truth of it is that she did escape with her whole family over the Alps and come to America, and they opened an inn in Vermont.
Yes.
And the inn is still there. And now I believe the grandchildren are now going out on the road and also...
Really?
Yeah.
Did you meet her?
Yes. I
Oh,
met her
good.
about 3 times.
Oh, good.